you, Richard and Sherry, and thanks everyone for coming. It really means a lot. When I started Google about 5 years ago, I knew something about mobile data collection. And so one of the first jobs I was given was to go do an open data kit training in Indonesia, in this town called Palangkaraya in central Kalimantan. Welcome to Google, you're going to Indonesia. I didn't know what the infrastructure was going to be there. As we saw, it's a little bit in that area that Eric showed that had no green. So I came prepared. I brought a wireless router. Actually, I brought 2 of them, a bunch of Ethernet cable. I brought some power cords. I brought about 30 mobile devices, phones and tablets. I brought a Nomad Trimble, and some surveyor gear, and packed it up into my bag and went to Palangkaraya to do this training. Here's the airport, and had no problems at all. It was fantastic. The training went well. People loved it. They swore they were going to use Open Data Kit, and it was such a success that not long after that, a member of the one of the presidential cabinets of Indonesia invited us back and said, "That was great training. Can you do one for us?" Well, I had my packing list. I just threw all that stuff in my backpack, went to Jakarta, and didn't have so much luck. I was immediately tagged as a suspicious character. My bags were searched. The contents were found to be suspicious. I got brought into a room, interrogated for about 4 hours about what I was doing with all this gear. They wouldn't take, "I'm doing a training on Open Data Kit" as an answer. And it took actually a phone call from one of the presidential cabinet member of the cabinet to get me out of there. So I indirectly have Gaetano to thank for my first minor international incident. Now, the reason I was there in the first place is because when I joined Google, I joined a team called Google Earth Outreach. And the goal of Google Earth Outreach is to help nonprofits and governments, researchers, to tell their stories, move their agendas forward using Google technologies. Earth Outreach, and I'm going to say we a lot in this talk, and when I say we, it's the Earth Outreach team, do a number of different things. One thing we do is use Street View technology. So if you look at Google Maps, there are pictures of your houses, and that's with Street View. We take that and we work with nonprofits to use this technology to help tell their stories. So we do things like put Street View on a bicycle and the bicycle on a boat and send the boat down the Amazon to take imagery in support of the Amazon Conservation Foundation. We put Street View on backpacks that we call trekkers to hike through places like the Grand Canyon or the Galapagos here with the Charles Darwin Foundation. So we do projects like that. We also do a lot of trainings, like the training that I did for Open Data Kit. We do trainings at Google. We do trainings at other people's facilities. So the one in the lower right corner is in a village in the Brazilian Amazon and training people up on Open Data Kit there. And we also work closely with lots of partners. And I'm going to tell you two stories of 2 of the partners that we use, and we're helping train up on Open Data Kit. And then I'll tell you where we're taking our work with Open Data Kit next. The first partner is the Surui community in the Amazon. The Surui were the most recently contacted peoples in the Amazon by the West, and it had the tragic consequence it often does, where about 90% of the population died over the course of a couple of years of disease. They were contacted because a road was going through the Amazon, and that road led to a lot of development in the area, and the people who remained had a hard time preserving their territory. That shape there in red is the Surui territory, and everything around that is deforestation that was put in place for agriculture and grazing. And Chief Almir, who's this person over there in the bottom, one day was in an internet cafe, and he there saw Google Earth. And he looked in Google Earth, and he did what everybody does when they go to Google Earth. You look at your house, and he saw for the first time the extent of his land, and he said, "Oh, well, this is horrible. I'm surrounded by deforestation. We need to do something about this." And his famous quote was, "It's time to put down the bow and arrow and pick up the laptops." So he visited Google, and he said, talked to Google, and he said, hey, can you help us with this? We're having a hard time defending our land. We need a hand. And we said, oh, this is a great cause, sure, we'll help. So we worked with the COE to do some mapping of their area, and we also trained them on using Open Data Kit. And so one of the first things that I started doing with Open Data Kit was using it for vigilance. They are patrolling their territory, taking pictures of illegal incursions into it, taking pictures of illegal logging and poaching, and sending them, thanks to Open Data Kit, to the law enforcement who can do something about it. I mean, it used to be very easy to ignore people, right? They would say, oh, there's some illegal logging happening, yeah, but when you say, like, it's happening here at this geographic coordinate, and here's the picture, it's harder to ignore. And through the use of Open Data Kit, they've had a lot more success in keeping their lands intact. The project with them to continue. The next one was working with them to use Open Data Kit to collect data on the state of their forest so that they could then sell carbon credits for the preservation of it. So the folks are doing monitoring of the forest. They're taking measurements of the trees. They're using Open Data Kit to do that. The data gets entered into some allometric equations to estimate how much carbon is in their trees. And they've used the system to measure how much carbon is in their trees. The way that carbon credits are sold now is through something called the Verified Carbon Standard. They applied to the Verified Carbon Standard to let ODK be an official system for collecting data for forest credits, for carbon credits, and they got the okay. And they became the first indigenous community to actually sell carbon credits for the preservation of their forests. So they've sold lots of carbon credits to a cosmetics company in Brazil. They were the first. So it's having a big positive impact. Unsurprisingly, all of the communities around them have taken notice of this and are interested in doing the same. So we're now starting to scale this up. There are a series of meetings happening now in Brazil. Another one is going to be happening in a couple of weeks, where other communities are being trained up in Open Data Kit and shown how to do the same thing for their communities. So that's one example. Another example is with the Jane Goodall Institute. We've been working with them for a really long time. The mandate of the Jane Goodall Institute is to help preserve the chimpanzee population of the world. Their goal is to save 85% of the population, and they believe they can do that through preservation of specific areas of forest. We early in 2009 started working with Jane Goodall and also the Fundi, or people who became the Fundi, and University of Washington to train up various offices of the Jane Goodall Institute on using Open Data Kit. Here's one of those trainings. What the Institute found was that a lot of the forests that chimps would use as habitat have been lost. Between 1972 and 1999, there's a Gombe National Park over there in Tanzania. Something like 80% of the forest habitat that chimps used was deforested. And they figured there was a strip of land outside of the national park that chimps could use, and if they were able to preserve that, they would be doing a lot to help the chimp population be sustainable. So they contacted the local communities over there, and they put together a plan to sort of set aside that strip of land for the use by the chimps. And the idea, and to enforce it, or to make sure that the land was being preserved, they deployed Open Data Kit broadly so that the communities along that strip could monitor that this forest was in fact being preserved. In 2005, they put the plan in place to do the preservation, and it's already having a massive effect. This is just one example, but there are a dozen of these. This is Kagongo Village Forest Reserve. It's one of these forest reserves. This is what it looked like in 2005. This is what it looks like in 2013. So the forest has come back, and it's now much more suitable chimp habitat. In other areas, like Uganda, the Jane Goodall Institute is working to combine the efforts of local communities, and law enforcement. This is National Forest here in Uganda has, in this area, it has 5 rangers who are hired to preserve it, to make sure that there's no illegal poaching or logging, and they can't monitor the whole thing. Inside the forest are a lot of local communities who've just historically lived there, right? They put aside the land, but there are people who are living there, and the rangers put it together in agreement with the local communities to help them preserve the forest. So the Jane Goodall Institute has been working with the patrols and the communities to use Open Data Kit to combine their monitoring efforts. And this has been very, very successful. You can see here all the different data points that have been collected. One of the things that's going on with this data, once it's collected, is it's being used to refine the areas that Jane Goodall Institute thinks are suitable habitat for the chimps, which is important because they need to focus their conservation efforts on specific areas. Now I'm going to get into the stuff that we're working on now. This kind of map where you're using ground-collected data to refine a model of some kind of land class, or in this case, chimp habitat suitability, is historically done for a long time. People are constantly building computational models of things like, where a forest is or where chimps can live based on data that are collected on the ground. But what Open Data Kit does is it really tightens the loop between when data are collected and when they're available as inputs into a model. Right? So it used to be you would go out into the field, write a bunch of data down on your form, it would sit there on a shelf for however long, maybe it would make it into a computer, and then you could run your model on it. And if the data were hard to read, it was too late because the person who collected it is long gone. Now there's none of that, right? You go in the field, you collect your data point, it gets uploaded, and it goes into your model. This is what we're working on now. To give you a little bit more context about where the effort is going, I need to do a little detour and talk to you about another project that I'm working on, which is this thing called Google Earth Engine. Google Earth is a tool that lots of people know. Here it is. It's a really nice tool for visualizing the Earth, sharing information about it, looking at your house. But we would talk to scientists and conservation groups about Google Earth and using it for conservation and for science, and they would say, not so great. It's good for visualization, not so great for scientific use. And it's because change is happening and it's happening fast. This is this area in Rondonia in Google Earth, and there are just a few images of this area in Google Earth. There are like 5. But the scientists were telling us that they couldn't do an analysis on just 5 images. They needed all the data. And they wanted scientifically validated, not just some of the color-corrected data that are in Google Earth. So they said to us, you've got a lot of computers, you've got a lot of hard drives, can you help us with our analysis? And we said, sure, that sounds like a good Google scale problem. And so we started working on Earth Engine. The idea behind Earth Engine is we're getting as much satellite data as we're allowed to get our hands on and allowed to share with everybody. We're putting it on Google servers next to the computers that do analysis on the data, and giving people programming interfaces so that they can write their own analyses on the Google computers on the data, and giving this out to anybody who wants to use it. So this is an existing thing. And people using it for all kinds of stuff. It's nice to know that in addition to answering search queries and helping with Gmail and helping people see videos about cats, that our servers are being used for scientific analysis of geospatial data. We're using it in-house to make our imagery better. This is back to Kalimantan. This is Indonesia. This is the image we had of this area in Google Earth, and it's super cloudy. It's the best image we had, but now that we have access to the entire, this vast catalog of Landsat and other satellite data, this is like 40 years of data over the whole planet, we can benefit from the great thing that clouds move, right? So, eventually those clouds are going to move. In some places on Earth, it takes 5 years going through the catalog to find a day where there's no cloud. People are very proud of this. Nobody's seen my land from space. But eventually you can find one. And if you go through my entire catalog, you can clear out every single cloudy pixel and turn this into Come on. Oh, all right. Never mind. I don't know why that's not working. You can get rid of the clouds. And we did this for the entire planet. So this is now the base map of Google Earth and Google Maps. It's a 15-meter resolution image of the entire planet. Like, it never exists, right? It's springtime everywhere. There's not a cloud in the sky anywhere. But it's a really great image of the Earth. A guy named Randy Sargent at Carnegie Mellon took this one step further. He created a cloud-free image of the Earth for every year from 1984 to 2012 and animated it. You can't see what's going on at this level too much, but this is a 15-meter image, a 15-meter movie of the Earth, where you can see things like Las Vegas growing over time and Lake Mead shrinking at the same time. You can see things like the deforestation that's happening in the Amazon. So the dark green is forest that's vanishing. And you can see meanders rivering over time. Right? This is from 1984 to 2012. This is a river changing direction over that period of time. And if you see over on the left-hand side, that's a town that's expanding wisely away from the river. Right? Those are visualizations, but this is being used for science as well. A person named Matt Hansen from the University of Maryland did a study of forest change globally over time from 2000 to 2014. You can drill into this data set anywhere on the planet and see how forest has changed anywhere over that period of time, when forest was lost, when forest is gained. And this data set and others like it are being combined by nonprofits like the World Resources Institute, who are combining data sets and making it available for people to use, for decision makers to use. This is now being used by governments all over the place to monitor their forests. In Global Forest Watch, you can circle an area and find where forest loss, how much forest loss has happened in that area. You can also go there and circle an area to get alerts whenever a deforestation event happens. So you can say, I want to monitor this park. You circle it and you get an email message when a deforestation alert occurs. And we have monthly, well, there are monthly alerts in the system. So back to Open Data Kit. With Jane Goodall Institute, the World Resources Institute, and Touch Lab, we're working to create an application called Forest Watcher mobile app. And this is the idea of this is to close the loop. When an alert happens in your area of interest, you get a message on your phone. It tells you where to go. You go to that spot. You verify, is the deforestation alert true or not? What does it look like? Using Open Data Kit, you send that information back to the server, and then it goes and improves the algorithm that determines the alerts in the first place. This model, we call it from the ground to the cloud, is being used by lots of other folks. This is a guy, Udisekar Nair, who's using it with teachers in Alabama to get the students, high school students in Alabama and grade school students in Alabama to monitor land cover change using Open Data Kit. And it's the same process of collecting the data and immediately running a computational model, which then tells you where to go collect more data. And the idea in all of these systems is to take the best science, the best technology, put it literally in the hands of the people who have the most invested in protecting their land, which is the people who live there, so that together, with scientists, technologists, nonprofits, governments, the local communities, can work together to build a better, more sustainable planet, which is so purely in the heart of what Gaetano was working towards. One not Earth Outreach related note, I'm also, when I'm not working on Earth Outreach and Earth Engine, I teach at Mills College in the computer science department. Mills College is one of the oldest colleges in California. Last semester I taught Computing for Good. It was a class for computer science majors who were interested in working towards societal or environmental benefit, talking about the rewards and challenges of working with nonprofits. And it was a difficult class to teach. There's no textbook. There aren't that many materials. It's not taught that often. And so I had to do a ton of research to figure out what to cover in this class. And time again, I came back to Gaetano's work. And throughout the class, the work that he did, the work that people here at the University of Washington and other folks here have done was critical towards this class. And I think, I think many people wonder, I wonder, if anything I do is going to persist past me, if any of the work I build or any of the papers I write or anything like that is going to go beyond me. I don't know if Gaetano worried about that kind of thing, but I think the answer is clear, right? The work he did helped me put together this class. I'm training up students who are going to take that work and do their own and train their own students. Gaetano, as we know, has trained a ton of students himself, and they will continue. I think altogether it makes it obvious that his work is going to continue to have a big impact going into the future. Thanks very much.